My sister Victoria's wedding was everything she'd dreamed of: crystal chandeliers, a live orchestra, 500 guests in designer clothes, and a reception at the Roosevelt Hotel that cost more than most people's houses. I stood at the edge of the ballroom in my simple navy dress, watching her float across the dance floor with her new husband James, a corporate attorney whose family made their fortune in real estate. "That's your sister?" A woman's voice beside me made me turn. She was older, maybe 60, dripping in diamonds that probably cost more than my car. "James's mother, Patricia Wellington. You must be. Maya, is it?" "Yes. Nice to meet you. Lovely wedding. Victoria tells me you're in computers." The way she said it made it sound like I collected trash for a living. "Something like that. I run a software company." "How quaint." Her smile didn't reach her eyes. "Victoria mentioned you're still figuring out your career. She said you've been doing this computer thing for quite some time without much success." Before I could respond, Victoria appeared in a cloud of white silk and tulle, her perfectly made-up face glowing with happiness. "Mother Patricia, I see you've met my little sister. Maya, isn't she sweet? Still trying to make her internet business work." "It's not an internet business, Vic. It's enterprise cloud infrastructure." Yes, all that technical talk." Victoria waved her hand dismissively. "Mother Patricia, don't worry about Maya. She's always been the quirky one. While I was studying business administration at Columbia, Maya was teaching herself coding in her bedroom. We tried to get her to pursue something more stable, but you know how some people are about their hobbies." "It's not a hobby," I said quietly, but neither of them were listening. "The important thing is she's here," Victoria continued, linking her arm through Patricia's. "Even if she couldn't afford a more expensive gift. The blender is lovely, Maya. Very practical." They glided away before I could explain that the blender was actually a $300 Vitamix, which was generous considering Victoria hadn't invited me to a single pre-wedding event because they cost money I probably didn't have. "Maya Chin, right?" A man about my age appeared holding 2 champagne flutes. "I'm Robert Wellington, James's brother. You look like you could use this." I took the champagne gratefully. "Thanks. Your family seems nice." He laughed. "They're snobs, but they mean well. Mostly. I hear you do something with computers." "I run a cloud infrastructure company. We provide back-end architecture and data management solutions for." "I'm going to stop you there because I have no idea what any of that means." He grinned. "But it sounds impressive. What's the company called?" "Stratuscore." Robert pulled out his phone, typing. His expression shifted from polite interest to confusion to shock. "Wait, Stratuscore? The Stratuscore? Holy shit, you're Maya Chin." "The Maya Chin? I mean, I'm a Maya Chin. There are probably others." No. He was scrolling frantically now. "You founded Stratuscore 7 years ago. You're on the cover of this month's Entrepreneur magazine. Forbes wrote a profile on you last year. Your company is valued at— Oh my God, is this number right?" My stomach tightened. "Robert, please keep your voice down. Your company is worth $8.3 billion? Your worth personally. It says here you own 68% of the company, which makes your stake." He looked up at me, stunned. "You're worth over $5 billion. On paper. It's not liquid." "James." Robert shouted across the ballroom. "James, get over here." The music seemed to dim. Heads turned. Victoria and James stopped dancing, looking over with confusion and irritation at the interruption. "Robert, what are you doing?" Patricia Wellington appeared, her face tight with disapproval. "You're making a scene at your brother's wedding." "Mother, do you know who this is?" Robert held up his phone, showing the Forbes article. "This is Maya Chin. She founded Stratuscore. She's literally one of the youngest self-made billionaires in America." The color drained from Patricia's face. Victoria reached us, irritation clear. "Robert, what are you talking about? Maya works with computers. She's still trying to get her startup off the ground." "Her startup is worth $8.3 billion, Robert said, his voice carrying across the now quiet ballroom. "She has 2,400 employees across 6 countries. Her clients include Amazon, Microsoft, Netflix, and about 300 other major corporations. Victoria, your sister is a billionaire." The silence was absolute. "That's ridiculous," Victoria laughed, but it sounded forced. "Maya lives in a tiny apartment. She drives a Honda from 2016. She couldn't even afford to be a bridesmaid because the dress cost too much. Robert, I think you're confused. I'm not confused. Robert turned his phone to show the screen to the growing crowd of guests. Look. Forbes, Entrepreneur, TechCrunch, Bloomberg. There are dozens of articles about her. She's famous in the tech world. Victoria snatched the phone, her eyes scanning frantically. Her face went from skeptical to pale to something that looked like panic. This can't be real. Maya, tell them this isn't real. It's real, Vic. But you told me StrataScore was struggling. You said you were bootstrapping, barely making ends meet. I said that 7 years ago when I started. You haven't asked about the company since then. Every time I tried to talk about it, you changed the subject or told me to stop boring people with tech talk. James appeared, looking confused. What's going on? Robert, why did you interrupt our first dance? Your new sister-in-law, Robert said, barely containing his excitement, is Maya Chen, founder and CEO of StrataScore. She's worth over $5 billion. James's mother, Patricia, had pulled out her own phone, typing rapidly. Her expression transformed from dismissive to horrified. James, this is true. StrataScore provides cloud infrastructure for half the Fortune 500. They generated $1.8 billion in revenue last year. Maya Chen she's one of the most successful young entrepreneurs in the technology sector. The ballroom was buzzing now, guests pulling out phones, searching my name, finding articles and profiles and interviews I'd done for tech publications. I watched my sister's perfect wedding descend into chaos, and I felt a strange mix of vindication and sadness. Maya, Victoria's voice was small now, trembling. Why didn't you tell me? I tried to tell you. Remember Thanksgiving 2 years ago? I mentioned StrataScore had just closed a Series D funding round at a $3 billion valuation. You told me to stop making up numbers to sound important. Remember last Christmas? I said we'd opened offices in London and Singapore. You asked when I'd give up this phase and get a real career. But Victoria looked at the phone again, at the article with my photo, at the company valuation that was larger than the Wellington family's entire real estate portfolio. The apartment. You look like you're struggling. I reinvest everything into the company. I don't care about fancy cars or big houses. I care about building the best cloud infrastructure platform in the world. And I did it, Vic. While you were planning this wedding, I was signing contracts with Apple and Google. Patricia Wellington had recovered her composure, her expression now calculating rather than dismissive. Maya dear, I apologize for earlier. I didn't realize who you were. The Wellington family has significant investments in technology. Perhaps we could discuss. No, I said simply. No. 10 minutes ago you implied I was a failure. You called my life's work quaint. You're only interested now because Robert Googled me. That's not respect, Mrs. Wellington. That's opportunism. Now wait just a minute. Maya. My sister grabbed my arm, her eyes desperate. Please. You're embarrassing me. On my wedding day. Can't you be happy for me without making this about you? I stared at her. Making this about me? Victoria, you introduced me to your new mother-in-law as your quirky little sister who's still playing with computers. You've spent the last 6 months telling everyone I couldn't afford to be a bridesmaid. You put me at the kids' table at your reception because you were ashamed of my career. I didn't make this about me. Robert did when he looked up my company. But now everyone's talking about you instead of my wedding. And whose fault is that? If you'd shown any interest in my life over the past 7 years, if you'd ever asked how StrataScore was doing, if you'd read even one of the articles written about me, this wouldn't be a surprise. But you decided I was a failure and you treated me like one. James stepped forward, his attorney instincts kicking in. I think we all need to calm down. Maya, we didn't know. If you'd known I was worth billions, you'd have treated me differently. That's exactly my point, James. Congratulations on your marriage. I hope you're very happy together. I turned to leave, but Victoria's voice stopped me. Where are you going? You can't just leave my wedding. Yes, I can. I fulfilled my obligation. I brought a gift, I smiled for photos. But I'm not staying to watch 500 people suddenly pretend they respect me because they Googled my net worth. Maya, please. Victoria was crying now, her perfect makeup starting to run. Don't do this. Don't ruin my day. I didn't ruin anything, Vic, I said. I'm just done letting you disrespect me. Enjoy your reception. I headed toward the exit. I could feel everyone watching, whispering, pulling out their phones to Google the billion-dollar company I built while my family ignored me. Paya, wait. Robert caught up to me. I'm sorry. I shouldn't have caused a scene. I was just shocked. I read your Forbes profile. What you built is incredible. Thank you. For what it's worth, he said, I don't think Victoria meant to hurt you. She just didn't understand. She didn't want to understand, I said. She could have asked about my work. She could have visited my office. Instead, she chose to see me as a failure because she didn't understand tech. Robert nodded. Fair. So, what now? With your family? I don't know, I said. If they respect my work, not just the money, maybe there's a chance. But if they only want to be connected to my success for clout, then we're done. He hesitated. Why did you even come today? Because she's still my sister, I said. And a tiny part of me hoped she'd finally introduce me with pride instead of pity. I got my answer. My phone buzzed. My COO, board meeting moved to tomorrow at 9. Also, you're trending on Twitter. Something about a wedding. I glanced back at the ballroom. Victoria stood surrounded by guests, her perfect day shaken because the sister she pitied turned out to be a billionaire. So I texted back, long story. Prepare a statement. Nothing detailed. Outside in the cool air, I felt lighter than I had in years. No more hiding. No more pretending. No more letting my family define me as a failure. My phone rang. Victoria. I let it go to voicemail. Then Mom. Then Dad. Then my aunt. Then Victoria again. I silenced it and ordered a car. While I waited, I opened the Forbes article Robert mentioned. My face stared back from the cover. Maya Chen, the quiet genius behind cloud infrastructure. My family hadn't even known it existed. The car arrived. On the ride back to my tiny apartment, a $12,000 a month loft in Soma, I thought about the $300 blender I bought as a wedding gift. A gift for a sister who put me at the kids' table. Who called me still figuring things out. Who told her wealthy in-laws I was basically a charity case. Tomorrow those in-laws would be Googling Stratuscore. Victoria would be explaining why she hid her billionaire sister. My parents would be asking how they never knew. But tonight I was going to order Thai food, read my quarterly reports and check the trending hashtag. Twitter didn't disappoint. Hashtag billionaire at the kids' table. Apparently someone filmed Robert's announcement. The internet loved the story of the billionaire sister no one in her own family believed in. I should have been mortified. Glad I laughed. Because after 7 years of being dismissed, diminished and pitted, the truth was finally out. And it felt amazing. My phone buzzed again. Victoria, Paya, I'm so sorry. Please call me. I didn't know. I didn't understand. Please. I'd call her back eventually. Maybe tomorrow. Maybe next week. But tonight I was going to celebrate being the person I'd worked so hard to become, with or without my family's approval. The blender had been a perfectly good gift. But the look on Patricia Wellington's face when she realized she'd dismissed a billionaire? That was priceless.